Bonjour et bienvenue à notre réunion de midi. Comme vous le savez probablement déjà, les ministres du commerce de l'Union européenne se sont réunis aujourd'hui à Bruxelles pour une réunion du Conseil des affaires étrangères de l'Union européenne dans sa configuration commerce avec la participation du commissaire Šefčovič pour la Commission. Parmi les sujets abordés figurent sans surprise l'état d'avancement des négociations commerciales en cours avec les États-Unis, des nouvelles formes de coopération et nos relations commerciales avec les États-Unis et la Chine. Même si je suis bien consciente de l'intérêt sur ce sujet actuellement, les négociations avec les États-Unis, nous devons vous demander un peu de patience jusqu'à la conférence de presse cet après-midi à 2h30 avec le commissaire Šefčovič pour répondre à vos questions commerce. Entre-temps, j'ai vu que vous avez pu profiter en background ici avec Olof, mais pour toute autre question, ça devra patienter la conférence de presse cet après-midi. De plus, les ministres de l'Agriculture se sont réunis également à Bruxelles aujourd'hui. Le commissaire Hansen représente la Commission lors de cette réunion du Conseil de l'Union européenne qui a débuté ce matin. Et parmi les sujets à l'ordre du jour, les ministres discuteront de la situation du marché des produits agroalimentaires et des matières premières. Ils débattront aussi des initiatives prises au niveau national et européen afin de diversifier les sources de protéines destinées à l'alimentation humaine et animale. Le commissaire Hansen participera à la conférence de presse qui aura lieu à l'issue de cette réunion, on estime vers 17h30, 17h35. Là encore, nous vous invitons à réserver vos questions sur les sujets relatifs à l'agriculture pour cette conférence de presse. Moving on, I would like to draw your attention to the joint press release that we published just a few moments ago following the meeting of President von der Leyen and President Costa with the Prime Minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan. They welcomed Armenia's ambitious reform agenda and expressed their support for Armenia's sovereignty, territorial integrity and democratic reforms. The joint press release is available in our press corner and the remarks of President von der Leyen will also be published online shortly. Lastly, I would like to remind you that Executive Vice President Virkkunen will be in the VIP corner later today at 4 p.m. together with the Danish Minister for Digital Affairs, Caroline Stage, for a press point on the protection of minors online. Before that, at 1:45 p.m., we will have a technical briefing off the record and under embargo on this very same topic here in the press room. And we invite you, of course, to attend both press events along with the other press events this afternoon. It will be a very busy afternoon in terms of press events. And with this, we are now ready to take your questions. Who would like to start? I start there.
Sabina Rossetta, so thanks for the floor. It's on UniCredit. I've seen that you have announced on the daily news that you have sent a letter to Italy assessing that the disposition from an Italian regulation may be in breach of European law and of competition. On what exactly? Because the regional card in Italy say that some imposition that the Italian government has imposed to the merger between UniCredit and Banco BPM are in breach of the rules, are they not? Is this do you have a similar assessment, please? Thank you.
Sabine, this is today for Thomas, stepping in for Leah.
Indeed, thank you, Paula. Thank you, Sabina. So indeed, today the Commission has indeed sent a letter to the Italian authorities setting out our preliminary view that the decree issued by the Italian Prime Minister's office on 18 April 2025 regarding this merger may constitute a breach of Article 25 of the EU merger regulation. Now, we have indeed cleared this merger earlier this year in June. This decree imposes a number of conditions on these two companies, on the deal, hence our position today and this preliminary assessment sent today to the Italian authorities, who now, of course, have the time to review our assessment and to provide information.
Thank you, Thomas. Any other questions to Thomas? Sabine, you have a follow-up?
Is this an answer that implies that you cannot answer to my question? Because I asked if you can give us more details on what is not fine with what the Italian government has done on Unicredit. Thank you.
Let me go back to the regulation, maybe into Article 21. Article 21 of the EU merger regulation says that in certain specific cases, indeed, member states have the capacity, the capability to indeed impose certain conditions when it comes to a merger at national level. Now, these conditions are, for example, when a member state has a legitimate interest, for example, when it has when a merger has a potential risk on public security, for example. This is also, according to the decree, what was raised here by the Italian authorities. Now, we say, indeed, that according to our preliminary assessment, that we have doubts that this decree indeed meets the conditions set out and laid out in Article 21 of the EU merger regulation, hence our preliminary assessment, and now this goes indeed to the Italian authorities.
Good. Thank you, Thomas. Other questions to Thomas on his subjects or his hat, Leah's hat today? Yes, Magnus.
Thank you. Magnus with Euractiv. It's on France's defense proposal, promising to upping their defense spending by, I believe, with 7.5 billion over the next coming years. First of all, what's the Commission's position on that? And secondly, since France is already is in a excessive deficit procedure and they haven't famously activated the national escape clause, how is this fiscally kosher?
Thank you. Let me first start in a more general term. Maybe Balázs wants to add, and specifically on the national escape clause. But indeed, this is the goal, and this is what we have been advocating for since the beginning of this mandate, indeed, is to ramp up our defense investments in different member states. This is also the reason why we came up with different financial instruments, be it the national escape clause, be it SAFE. Again, SAFE, I would also refer you to the tweet issued yesterday jointly between Commissioner Dombrovskis and Commissioner Kubilius. Now, on the national escape clause, more specifically, I think Balázs is more appropriate.
Real team effort here. Indeed, so here is the context. I think when we look at the situation now in Europe, it's clear that we are facing an unprecedented security threat. Now, our response to that is clear. We have to boost our defense expenditure. However, this should be done without undermining fiscal discipline. So the two considerations have to be brought together. And indeed, with regard to France, as is the case with other member states, we have a medium-term fiscal structural plan, which clearly sets the upper limit as to how much net expenditure can grow from one year to the other. And it is important, remains important, that member states, including France, abide by these targets which have been defined by the Council. So we are going to be monitoring the situation very closely. And when we look at the presentation of the spring package, we saw that our assessment was that France is on the right track, and it is important that it all remain on the right track going forward.
Yes, Magnus. Yeah.
So are you urging France to activate the national escape clause? What's the game plan from here?
For now, on the national escape clause, we got 16 member states that applied, 15 of which have been already approved by the Council in this regard. It is for the member states to decide whether or not they go for it. This is a sovereign decision. On our side, of course, we are ready to assess the French request if it comes, but again, this is something that they have to assess at the national level.
And I understand, again, from press that the budget plan for France is actually still going to be presented tomorrow, so we'll probably also have more insight into that. Other questions here? We have a nice tandem between Thomas and Balázs. Yes, Gabriele.
No, apologies for not keeping this in order, but it's a follow-up to Sabina's question, Gabriele Rosana with Il Messaggero. So again on UniCredit, because you also, I was just reading now the daily, and you refer to the regional court judgment from a few days ago that partly annuls the decree. Just to understand, because the decree has several provisions, and not all of them indeed have been annulled. So from your point of view, is the decree in its entirety a breach of Article 21 of the EU merger regulation? Or just part of it, like the Italian court said? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I get the question, a very good try. But now we have indeed submitted our preliminary assessment this letter to the Italian authorities. Of course, a big part of that is confidential. We'll not go into the details of what we think may be in breach or not, or which specifics. This is now the ball is in the Italian court, for now, and not the court, the jurisdiction, but Italy, the country. And you're referring also to this decision by the court. Just let me remind you that this is an independent procedure. This is a separate track and has nothing to do with what we're doing under the EU merger regulation.
Okay. Other questions to Thomas? No. Then we change topic. Antoine.
Thank you. Antoine Muto for Japanese TV and HK. This is kind of a cross topic. This is on trade, but not on the US negotiations, since this is on the upcoming summits with China and Japan. Will the summits be the occasion to change course in the trade relations with those countries? And also, since there seems to be a backsliding from the President on CPTPP, could you please tell us what is the current state of play in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you, Antoine. I would still refer this question to the press conference later today. I've indicated that one of the subjects is precisely also the trade relations with China. But I would say here that we don't see any backsliding on the CPTPP. But indeed, let us keep that for the press conference this afternoon. Yeah, please.
Sergio Cantone from Euronews. I have a question about if you have heard about or have any comment about the hybrid warfare, the alleged hybrid warfare that is carried out by Serbia through its telecom operator, Telecom Serbia, MTS, in Kosovo, and if you have any comment on this, and if you get any evidence from your source of information over there.
Yeah. Thank you, Sergio. Yes, this question will be for Anwar.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the question. Allegations brought forward would have to be handled, and this needs to be said by the Kosovo Telecommunication Regulatory and or the rule of law authorities. And more specifically, when it comes to the EU, we facilitated dialogue agreement on telecommunication from 2013, normalized telecommunication services in Kosovo. And the compliance with the Kosovo regulatory framework is of the responsibility, and this we need to say it, of the independent regulatory authority of electronic and postal communications. That's what we can say at this stage. Thank you.
Yes, Sergio.
But anyway, it's also, if it's the case and if it's really happening, this is a violation of the agreements that were brokered by the European Union. So in this case, you should have some comment, some far-fetched comment from this point of view.
Thanks much. That's all we can say at this stage, and we will revert back if we have more to say. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another question on Serbia online. Nikola Hadidžić.
Yeah. Hello, thank you. Nikola Radišić, N1 Television. I just wanted to ask you, N1 Television from Serbia sent another letter to EU officials and institutions on escalating threats against us, against our journalists. Now we are warned to remember Charlie Hebdo. You all know what it means. It came after escalation of attacks on us from the government officials, from the president who called us terrorists. So did you receive the letter, and when will we get a response? What is the Commission has to say on continuous attacks on professional media in Serbia, namely N1, and what is your attitude towards the fact that not a single Serbian institution has reacted, prosecutor or nobody? What about rule of law? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicola. Although on Serbia, this is for Guillaume.
Thank you, Nicola. We can confirm the receipt of the letter that you just mentioned, and we will reply in due course. When it comes to the current situation that you just described, we have already explained our position, but I'm happy to recall it. So we are concerned about the increasing pressure and the attacks the journalists are facing in the context of students and citizen protests in Serbia. We expect competent authorities to swiftly follow up on these and all the other cases and attacks, and also for the authorities to ensure the effective judicial follow-up on all those cases and to bring the perpetrators to justice. When it comes to media freedom, as you know, it is one of the essential foundations of a democratic society, and it's a fundamental right in the EU. It is therefore crucial that Serbia, it's a crucial element also for Serbia's EU accession process, and an important interim benchmark to be fulfilled under the Chapter 23 of the negotiation process. So we expect Serbia to create an enabling environment in which media freedom and freedom of expression can be exercised without hindrance. It is crucial that journalists are able to do their job free of any threats of violence or harassment and intimidation, to ensure that citizens have access to all information. We also expect high-level officials to refrain from verbal attacks and threats against journalists.
Thank you, Guillaume. So a clear call for freedom of press in Serbia. Other questions to Guillaume or Anwar, since they're both here? Yes, please.
Hi, Jack Power with the Irish Times. Just a question to Anwar in terms of the FAC tomorrow. Is it anticipated that the High Representative will give more details about the deal with Israel on humanitarian access in terms of, specifics about the number of trucks that will be allowed in under the deal? Will that kind of information be presented to member states at the meeting? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As has been the case recurrently these past few months, obviously the situation in the Middle East will be on the agenda of the next Foreign Affairs Council, and the issue will also be touched on by the High Representative.
So no further elements at this stage, but very, very likely tomorrow we'll have more on that question, Jack. Other questions to Anwar or Guillaume? Yes, Stefan.
Yes, can you maybe tell us who will participate at today's Southern Partnership meeting? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So indeed, we have today in Brussels the EU Southern Neighbourhood Ministerial that will take place this evening. The 10 partners that we have in the Southern Neighbourhood have been invited. I will not at this stage go more into details into who is attending and at what level, but the 10 partners have been invited to this ministerial meeting that will take place today in the evening.
Okay, well, I also have a clear picture this evening, but the 10 have been invited. Other questions on foreign affairs or neighborhood? Mose, you have one question, probably on foreign affairs.
Yes, thank you, Paula. Musa, Broadcasters Times. Can I ask Anwar follow-up questions to our discussion last week about the EU mission to Libya? The delegation had to leave Benghazi because of the protocol issue, but I understand that the visit to Tripoli was more successful. But I would like to ask if the issue of the detention centers in Libya or in Western Europe, Libya was discussed, because reportedly, at least in the past, migrants were mistreated or tortured there. Or have they been closed by now, as the EU and the Commission have been asking for some years? Thank you.
That will be, so we'll have here change of guard here, and we'll ask Marcus to come up to reply to this question, still relating to the mission to Libya last week.
Thank you, Mose. If I understand correctly, your question is focusing on what was discussed in Tripoli, right?
Detention centers.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Thanks.
So on the discussions in Tripoli, they focused on how to address common challenges in the area of migration, and participants expressed joint commitment to vigorously combat smuggling. And this is also something that we have said already last week. This has been laying the groundwork for deeper and wider cooperation. So this is what I have on what was discussed in the meetings. I have no further details on the discussions.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. Now, questions to Marcus, since we have him here. No, no questions to Marcus or Guillaume, so we can move on. David?
So, foreign affairs, it might actually be for Olaf, who's probably going to spend some time on the podium. It concerns just the procedure. So we've got the foreign affairs meeting tomorrow, foreign ministers meeting tomorrow in terms of the oil sanctions. I was wondering, what is the procedure? The Commission's made its proposal. Are there any final tweaks to be expected? That sort of thing. Thanks.
Yes, David. So the subject of the 18th package of sanctions against Russia is indeed on the agenda, so this will be discussed. We are seeking an agreement. As always, we seek for an agreement with the support of all member states, and we are working precisely still in this sense, and we should see how that discussion goes now at the Foreign Affairs Council. Yes, David.
So from what you're saying, I assume there has been no final agreement at this point of time. And then the second point on that is the price cap. Can you just confirm that that's an EU price cap? That's something the EU decides on its own. It's not a G7 price cap. So we don't need to agree with G7 partners on adapting that price cap down. Is it the 15%? Thanks.
On the price cap, we always said that this measure is much more impactful if we do it in cooperation with the G7. And hence, an ideal outcome is to have an agreement at G7 level. It is part of our proposal, so in any case, it's part of the EU measures, but obviously it has a greater impact with the G7. In terms of agreement on the sanctions package, as said, this will be on the agenda of the Foreign Affairs Council, so we will know more tomorrow. Yes, back there. Lena.
Hi, Lise Hesselund with TV2 Denmark. It's a question also on trade. I came in a little bit late, but I don't think you've covered it yet. Specifically, trade relations between the EU and the US. I just wonder, we hear Donald Trump say, either you get a letter with tariffs or you get a deal. So what exactly makes you think that you can still negotiate a deal before the 1st of August with the Americans? That's my first question. And secondly, can you just enlighten us on the second package of countermeasures? If how far is that in the pipeline, and do you expect to present it to the ministers of trade today or in the coming days? Thanks.
Lisa, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. And indeed, we said at the very beginning, because the Foreign Affairs Council is taking place in their work stream as commerce, the commerce ministers are meeting. Therefore, we're not taking any questions on trade now. But I'd like to invite you to participate at the press conference with Commissioner Šefčovič this afternoon, foreseen at 2:30. And you'll have the occasion to ask your questions there directly to the Commissioner in charge of trade. Other questions? I have one question online from Eleonora Rinaldi.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me? Okay. My question is about the EU-China high-level dialogue on climate and environment. Do you have anything that you can share with us about the dialogue? How is it going? And then another question instead on the EU-China summit for the end of July. My question is climate still on the agenda of the summit?
So, two different questions. One will be for the EU, for Anna Kaiser regarding the ongoing EU-China high-level dialogue. In fact, in China, it's already end of the day. I don't know if we got any further input and from our colleagues there. Anna Kaiser.
So, as Paula said, the high-level dialogue on climate with China is still ongoing. So we do not have a real-time reporting from our colleagues who are there and from the Commissioner who is present at these talks. But we are hoping to be able to revert once the talks are finished. But even though it's, as Paula referred to, it is already very late afternoon in China, but the dialogue is still ongoing. So we'll stay in touch on that. And as to the summit part of the exercise, Paula.
For the summit, so the program is still being finalized, but yes, we can expect that climate will be on the agenda as a topic. Other questions to Anna Kaiser now? Energy, climate, transport? No. Then we can again change topic. Razia.
Thank you. Razia Akuch, AFP News Agency. I fully understand that you're not taking trade questions, so my question is about agriculture, but I would just like to make a point that the Council press conferences aren't like middays, and we only get a couple of questions in, and it's often quite selective. Certain people get those questions in. I just wanted to just put that out there. My question is on, so first I'd like to know how the MFF, this is my first MFF, how that actually goes down in terms of, we're expecting it Wednesday, is there going to be a technical briefing, press conference, all of that jazz? And then the big thing, especially for French farmers and probably all farmers across the EU, there's a story, I believe in Euractiv about how the Common Agricultural Policy is going to be reformed into a single fund and dropping the rural element but keeping direct support for farmers. Is it possible to get any confirmation on that? And is the European Commission ready to deal with the anger of farmers after what we saw last year? Thank you.
So, Asia, let's take one after the other. Certainly, given the amount of interest in the topic of trade negotiations with the US, I'm not surprised if indeed you will not all be able to ask all the questions that you have, and that's why tomorrow we're here again to answer any further questions or unanswered questions. But of course today we leave it for the Commissioner, and we do not want to prejudge anything that the Commissioner will say also in light of the discussions that took place this morning with the ministers across the EU responsible for trade. On the MFF, yes, you can count on a number of press activities, including obviously a press conference to present the MFF. And certainly also technical briefings. It is a very important package which only comes into play every 7 years and of course extremely important proposal, and we will dedicate all the time necessary to make to explain, and so that you can all be well acquainted with the big picture but also the more detailed elements of the package. We will not go into any of it before Wednesday. As you will understand, this is currently being discussed in the Commission and going through its normal adoption procedure, but we can indeed promise that we'll have a number of press events to make sure you're acquainted with the proposal. And so I'll leave it at this for now. Any other questions? Yes, Sergio.
It's about Georgia. Tomorrow it is going to be discussed at the FAC meeting. Do you expect any further measure, restrictive measure, so-called sanctions against Georgia? It was mentioned the possibility of taking some measures against some specific judges or other. Have you anything to say about this? Thank you.
Thank you. So that's again Foreign Affairs. Anwar, anything that we can say in advance of the Foreign Affairs Council tomorrow on Georgia?
What I can say in advance is to be patient. Indeed, you know that we don't preempt the discussions that are taking place in the different configurations of the Council, and that's the case for the Foreign Affairs Council that will take place tomorrow. In terms of Georgia, indeed, the Council will discuss the situation in the country and also possible measures that can be taken. In the meanwhile, I will also refer to the joint statement that has been published on recent developments on the 11th of July in terms of the deteriorating situation in the country.
Okay. Any other question? No. Then I wish you a good afternoon, and indeed hope you'll be participating in the several press events that we have foreseen for this afternoon. Thank you. Wish you a nice day.